So hey guys, everyone here probably knows that Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of issues regarding newer players. So the first thing, of course, is that learning the game is very difficult because they're, in my opinion, at least I haven't checked how much recently, but I still don't think they're really good resources for newer players to kind of learn the game. And maybe there are now, and I just haven't been looking hard enough. But in game, at least for Master Duel, it's not really that great. So we're going to look through the tutorials and see what you actually learn from these tutorials. So we're going to start with tutorial 1 and go from there. So here, this one, learn how to play Master Duel. Here you'll learn how to summon monsters and use spell cards. Alright, let's check what we actually learn here, because it's probably not going to be that much. And we'll just go through the entirety of the first few soul gates. Okay, reduce your opponent's life points or LP to 0. Okay. Alright. You've drawn a monster card. Let's summon a monster. Let's summon a monster, okay? Normal summon Beckoned. You can only summon once per turn. Lie. You can summon way more than once per turn. This text right here should say something like, you have one normal summon per turn or something. So that'd be a little bit better than that. But okay. Let's proceed to the battle phase and try attacking. This part is fine, I guess. No big complaints yet. Let's try attacking a monster, but it doesn't really explain a lot about attacking and whatnot. The damage you inflict to your opponent's life points is equal to the amount your monster's attack exceeds your opponent's monster's attack, and your turn. There's so much that can't be explained here because it would just be like too much, honestly, and it's kind of annoying. I just don't really like this at all. So you skip over a lot of things. Like, for example, if we have 2-0 attack monsters, they don't destroy each other if they do battle. If this was in defense, I wouldn't have dealt any damage either. It doesn't really cover that either. There's just so much, right? And also how many cards you draw for turn and whatnot. None of that. Well, we've gone through like none of that. And also the starting life points is not 2,000, it is actually 8,000, which is kind of awkward, but whatever. For the tutorial, fine, whatever. And also the main phase, end phase, draw phase, all that. Not explaining it right now, but yeah. Alright, normal summon Neobug. Let's see. Does this mention crashing yet? Nope. You've drawn a spell card, activate a spell card. So it's not going to mention here setting or whatnot, or how to read, let's say, card text or whatever, or the fact that there are different spell speeds, spell cards. Yeah, that's rough to explain. Yep, spell cards are permanently used during your turn. Let's proceed to the battle phase and try attacking. Of course, it won't mention the shortcuts. You can attack even if your opponent has no monsters. Yep, you sure can. It didn't even mention that if you drop your opponent's life points to 0 that you win the duel, not necessarily, but I mean, with this graphic here, it becomes kind of abundantly obvious, so no big complaints about that, at least, I guess. Alright, next tutorial. Didn't really teach you too much. It just showed that you can normal summon a monster, but it doesn't actually fully explain normal summoning either. Like, why can't I normal summon my level 5 monster? Doesn't explain that. Alright. Reduce your opponent's life points LP to 0. Let's try using a trap card. Set a trap card. Doesn't explain why we're setting this trap card or anything either. Trap cards can be used on the turn after they are set. Oh, now it's explaining it. Never mind. Alright. Let's summon a monster. Anywhere is fine. We'll put it here. Sure. You cannot enter battle phase when going first. Yep. End your turn. Cool. Your opponent's monster is attacking. Activate a trap card before your monster is destroyed. No. Why would I activate this now? It's not damage step, doesn't explain damage step. But you know what? Because they have nothing, technically they're forced to attack into chosen by the World Chalice, but doesn't mention that about, well, of course it won't mention it here, I guess, but in the tutorial it won't be teaching you about changing attack targets. So if you activate something, the attack target can be changed sometimes, and it differs. So if I use specifically like an infinite impermanence, you can't just stop and decide, you know what, I won't attack with my Fenrir into your, like, I don't know, let's say Baron de Floor, because my Fenrir would be destroyed and I would take damage. You can't do that. You have to go through with the attack after you've declared it in this case. But if we were to activate like a card that's special summoned, you can change the attack target at well, yeah, in this case, if this happens during attack declaration. So yeah, all of that stuff, and that doesn't even cover like the actual damage step, but yeah, that's actually kind of important, I would argue. But yeah, we don't really have that. Okay, normal summon Blade Knight. Some cards can be activated from your graveyard for a special effect. Activate the skill successor in your graveyard. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are cards that can activate in the graveyard sometimes. Sure, whatever. Monster has been powered up by a card in your graveyard. Summon another monster. I mean, I'm not sure what that's relevant to, but yeah. Now we can go battle. Yep. Try attacking with a monster. I feel like that pause was so unnecessary. So this tutorial, for the amount of nothing it taught you, uh, not very time efficient. Let's see where we're at for time. We're at 6 minutes, 58, so about 7 minutes, and that we went through 2 tutorials to learn like absolutely what might as well be nothing. So it's not very efficient time wise, and it's not really teaching you a whole lot. So that kind of sucks. All right, next. You learned the basics of a duelist. Now remember everything you learned so far and claim victory on your own. Okay, so this is nothing. Now you can just duel with this, like, relatively crappy deck. Cool. And also, your life points are lower than usual. I guess this, or... D-spell? Come on, man. Didn't even mention anything about, like, removal. But okay. Are we close to winning? Wait, what the hell is 3 strikes barrier? If your opponent controls exactly 3 cards, activate one of these effects. Oh, weird. I guess we'll normal summon this and attack. Mirror Force isn't real. We can make Defender. Not that that's particularly useful. Oh, our chain order thing is not set as well, and it doesn't allow us to change it. So that's annoying. Not that it really teaches you about chain order and stuff. Whatever, we'll destroy this for fun. Increase defense. Yeah, that card's useless. And I'm good. Pretty sure we just have lethal, right? Yeah. Ballista Squad epic. A whole lot of nothing here. How long did that take? I mean, that was a particularly good hand. That took 3 minutes. Okay. Or so. Like 2 minutes-ish, actually. Eh. First tutorial teaches you, I would argue, absolutely nothing. Right? Dual training. Dual strategy 1 is the next thing that was kind of available. Alright. This will now teach you how to tribute summon. Does this have a loner? None of these have loners, right? So this would give you usually, I guess, the starter deck. I mean, well, I guess I can delete that deck and then replace it. Alright. let's go grab the starter deck real quick then. So it's this one. Oh, okay. Didn't realize that's what that deck was. I thought it was actually an event deck. Copy from structure. So here it would force you to use, I think, this deck by default, or you can swap over to Power of the Dragon, Synchro of Unity, or Link Gen. Here we'll just use the actual just starting deck, I guess. Sure. And let's see. So I guess we won't count this for the time. How long did that take? Like a minute. Okay. Grab this. Cool. And then I guess this doesn't particularly matter. This makes you go either first or second. I'm pretty sure, right? What are tribute summons? This method is used for summoning monsters level 5 and above. So it still doesn't mention that you can only normal summon level 4 or below monsters for your normal summon for turn. But okay. It's not really well explained. You must tribute a certain amount of monsters on your side of the field in order to perform this summon. The amount will depend on the level of the monster you want to tribute summon. Setting monsters level 5 and above will also require a tribute or tributes. As you only have one normal summon per turn, you will not be able to tribute summon if you have already performed your normal summon for the turn. And then you just go through this duel, right? Yo, we can skip this. Yeah, whatever. And our deck can't even tribute summon because they don't give us a loner, right? The opponent's deck here will be able to tribute summon like Hyo's Anryu and Luster Dragon number 2. That's about it, right? And that deck is totally able to kind of beat yours. All right, whatever. The starter deck here is not that great. Monsters can be placed in 3 different battle positions. 1. When a monster is summoned from the hand, it will be placed in face-up attack position. If you want to declare an attack with a monster, it must be in this position. Now that I think about it, yeah, you didn't even mention battle positions at all in the tutorial. And setting cards. We didn't do that either. When you set a monster from the hand, it will be placed in face-down defense position. When a monster in face-down defense position is attacked by an opponent, it will be changed to face-up defense position. Monsters may also be changed to face-up defense position via card effects. I should just make a list of what they teach us, honestly. I might just go ahead and pull out a notepad real quick. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's see. Tribute summons, and then battle position, I guess. But it doesn't go in depth into any of these things because there's more depth to like every single mechanics introduced. And then, quote unquote, it taught us to summon monsters. Yep. And then after that, you can attack with monsters, and then also, I guess, attack greater, do extra damage. Anything else? Oh yeah, you can activate spells. That doesn't really fully explain anything about spells and their activation conditions and whatnot and costs and all that. But okay, you can activate spells in general. Sure. It doesn't explain like quick play spells and that you can set them and activate them on the next turn, but you can't activate them on the current turn anymore if you set them because they work like traps kind of. Traps need to be set for 1 turn to activate, and then I guess technically monster can destroy lower attack monster by battle. And then what was there something else even? Um, yeah, I don't think so, right? I think that was pretty much everything. Okay. And the next page on this, how is battle damage calculated? The position the monster is in will determine the value or number that is used in battle calculations. Attack position versus attack position. The attack of monsters will be used. Attack position versus defense position. The attack of the monster attack position. The defense of the monster and defense position will be used. So still missing a lot here, but you know, okay. Uh, so this can be summarized as like battle position uses attack or defense accordingly. Cool. And then that's about it. And then you just play against the bot. Okay. That's number 2 of 3. And then this teaches you that special summoning exists. So now you realize it was a lie that you can only summon once per turn. Blatantly lied. Oh yeah, forgot to put that in. Uh, you can only summon once per turn. And then we'll just put this in quotes here. Yeah, I can definitely only summon once per turn. Yeah, I believe that. What are special summons? Special summons allow you to summon monsters to the field without normal summoning, either via the effect of Monster Reborn or other special methods outlined by the rules. What does that even mean? Yes, the only way I can special summon is with Monster Reborn. Yeah, sure. Okay, special summon is an umbrella term for all the summoning methods that allow you to summon more than once per turn, as long as their conditions are fulfilled. Unless stated otherwise on the card, you can choose to place your monster in either attack or defense position in any monster zone when it is special summoned. Okay. It's not going to really say that much, but you can special summon. And you can choose zone position and card position unless stated otherwise. So far, this list is pretty small, unless I forgot something else, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 things we've learned so far from the tutorial. Let's go. Crazy. Oh, right. There's also, you can drop your opponent's life points to 0 to win duel. I guess that one it didn't directly like say, but it kind of showed it, so I'll give that one, I guess. So far, nothing of value. Well, in my opinion, I guess. But all right, next. We're already halfway through. I don't think the top ones were tutorials, were they? I'll check in a second, I guess. All right, next one. And the tutorials now at this point, they are just like text boxes, essentially. So not that great. What are monster effects other than the normal monsters with yellow borders? Oh, we're finally talking about what is this, like tutorial number 5 or 6? Monsters can have effects. Whoa. Other than the normal monsters with yellow borders, there are also monsters that possess special effects that work similarly to spell and trap cards. There are many ways to use monster effects. Not only can you activate and use effects like Mystic Holder, but there are also effects that you can use continuously as long as the monsters is on the field. Wait, what? I'm going to have to figure out a way to summarize this, but now that I think about it, all of the starter decks are like super outdated, super crusty, and like just terra bad in general. I wonder if we should have like better starter decks for new players, just like in general. Like, yeah, some of these are really bad. Like if we just give one to like everyone, that would be nice. All right, let's see. So to summarize here, so monsters can have effects and yellow border. What does that even mean? Other than normal monsters with yellow borders? Is this yellow? Is that what you mean? Like, what does it mean by yellow borders even? There are also monsters that possess special effects that work similarly to spells. or to spell and trap cards. Monsters can have effects, and they work similarly, but not exactly the same, obviously, as spells and traps. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And then what? There are many ways to use monster effects. Not only can you activate and use effects like Mystric Holder, but there are also effects that you can use continuously as long as the monster is on the field. It didn't even explain field spells yet, but you know, it kind of does, I guess. Continuous effects exist, I guess. We've finally been introduced to continuous effects, but you know what? We haven't even been introduced to like continuous spells or traps, really. We did have one in our deck, but never explained it. But okay, now that I think about it, it doesn't actually explain field spells either. But continuous effects exist. That doesn't really tell you much about the rulings and how they work. They're simply stating that these things exist in the game. Wow, thanks. That's like a tutorial saying, you know, there are keywords in the game. I won't tell you like what the keywords do, how they interact. No, none of that. They just exist. Figure it out. Oh, let's see. What is this? Oh, this teaches you like a little bit about the summoning mechanics. I guess we'll go over that later, and then we'll just go through this. I guess. Uh, where are we at now? Which one was this? What was this? The one we just did? Even though I'm like skimming through this super hard, this is taking quite a while. Okay, yeah, that or whatever. Technically, it would take you like with the starter deck. It takes like it'll probably take you more than like an hour or more to probably clear all of this like straight up because the deck is so bad. You can end up losing some games as well. So that sucks. If I were to buy like a structured deck off rip, I think I could maybe clear this in like somewhere around half an hour to a full hour without like if I don't spend the time reading anything. I guess, is it worth even reading these? I don't think most people would read these. Let's see what says. Anything interesting? Start 8,000. Your opponent will try to tribute summon a level 5 or higher monster. Be careful because if a monster summoned last turn remains on the field, on the next turn it will be sent to the graveyard. A powerful monster will be summoned in exchange. Honestly, I never read those. Like these things, I never read these. There's more than one way to build the deck. Customize your deck according to your strength and those of your opponent. They have defense, yeah. It's just mostly talking about the strategy your opponent will employ. It doesn't really tell you that much about the game, I don't think. And also, it's just a lot more reading. Like, no one's going to read this, right? Cool. Decks are constructed with 40 to 60 cards. I mean, if you want to include this, you could, but alright, I guess we'll include it just for fun. Decks, 40 to 60 cards. Throw that in the list. Whoops. And anything else? No matter how strong a card is, it won't play an active role if it remains dormant in your deck. In such cases, try to use cards that populate your hand with necessary cards. Reinforcement of the army earned in the previous chapter can add a level 4 or lower warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Okay. I'm sure a single Rhoda will add a lot of consistency to my deck. Not that I have good target stat anyways. Make sure you keep your hand topped up. You can use many different cards to get ahead in the duel. And by activating spell and trap cards and summoning monsters, if you find yourself stuck and running low on cards in your hand, you can use cards like Reinforcement of the Army and the Warrior Returning Alive to add more cards to your hand, or Upstart Goblin to draw more. Once your hand is replenished, you may find new ways to break out your dilemma and turn the duel around. Honestly, all these cards are garbage except for Rhoda. And the Warrior Returning Alive is kind of like moot point. Like with a deck like this, because you just don't have good targets to return, they're all like kind of trash right now. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's great. So I suppose we put this down as draw cards exist and try to have cards in hand. This is good advice. Like, you know, to live, you should probably try breathing. Thanks. Okay. Once your hand is replenished, you may find new ways to break out your dilemma and turn the duel around. Yeah, like, I guess this was before, but you know, like pretty much every single draw card is just like banned anyway, so you really can't do anything. An Upstart Goblin doesn't really actually draw you a card or build advantage of any kind. Uh, the Warrior Returning Alive doesn't build any advantage either. There's like zero advantage with any of these cards. Rhoda even doesn't really give you advantage. So it's kind of like, huh, keep your hand topped up. What the hell does that even mean? I guess we'll add this like this. Uh, yep, keep your hand topped up. Cool. Great. And we're almost done. And then after this, we reach the goal, which just gives you the Sengame mate. There's no battle there. Oh, now we finally explain chains, despite not explaining problem-solving card text. Removal. It doesn't explain anything at all to you. Cool. And also, it doesn't explain negating either, because there are things you have to explain with this. A chain is created when you activate the effect of a card in response to the activation of another card effect. For example, there are many counter trap cards that you can activate and chain onto a card activation or effect in order to negate it. And then it mentions counter traps without mentioning them before at all. And it doesn't mention like any of the other stuff I said, like how you have to set a quick play spell to be able to activate it on the next turn, and you can't activate it on the current turn if you set it. It doesn't explain any of that. So now that I think about it, the game, it doesn't even explain to you how like spell speed works at all. So with an ignition effect, like even if you didn't know what an ignition effect is specifically, they don't explain how effects resolve or how negating works or anything like that. Like, for example, if you negate effect versus if you negate activation. And then there's also the fact that it's not explained how effects work specifically. So if I were to be on a different deck than this, then let's see. There are no effect monsters in this deck pretty much. But let's see. So if I were to normal summon, let's say, well, actually there is Bayonetter, the Baneful Barrel. If I normal summon Bayonetter here, it doesn't explain the fact that well, first off, this is a soft once per turn effect. Doesn't explain what that means. There's the colon here. Doesn't really explain that. The semicolon doesn't explain that either. And then this is just a permanent 1,000 attack loss, which is interesting, I suppose. This effect's kind of funky. And then after that, there is, let's see, the fact that, let's say we go chain 1, Bayonetter, and then we go chain 2, an effect to destroy, like, I don't know, Raigeki Break. If we Raigeki Break, or I guess in this case, since we have this guy, if we Ballista Squad the Bayonetter when it's activating, it doesn't explain that monsters don't need to be on the field to resolve their effects, or the same kind of deal with spells or traps, you know? So there is this common kind of meme, but it's just actually a legitimate problem where people won't know that MSD does not negate. And I mean, yeah, I've kind of heard about it happening recently as well. So yeah, that's kind of rough, and it's just not even really explained in the tutorial. So can you really blame them? Like they could have done every single tutorial here, and it never really explains any of this. The only reason they'll maybe start to understand a little bit, maybe they don't understand still afterwards, but maybe they'll have some notion where after they remove the monster and the effect still resolves, they'll maybe figure it out. But also there's a lot of text on their own cards, your cards, and then the chain order. All that stuff can be kind of confusing. And going back to this real quick, does this even say how chain order resolves? Like, straight up. Alright, let's see. Speaking of which, I guess it doesn't really explain trigger effects. as well, but alright. A chain is created when you activate the effect of a card in response. A list of the cards that you chain will be displayed when it's possible. Then you can choose whether or not you want to chain a card. It doesn't even explain in what order the chain resolves. So it's not actually clear from just the tutorial if the chain resolves from high to low or low to high. Which means there is an opportunity to make a mistake, and like you could think chains actually resolve from uh, ascending order instead of descending order, because it just doesn't say. So from what I can tell, honestly, well, I guess we can go retry this real quick. What is this text blurb actually saying? Let's break it down, actually. Okay. A chain is created when you activate the effect of a card in response to the activation of another card effect. So, uh, this seems a little bit wrong, but alright. Chains are created when you respond to, let's see, you activate the effect of a card in response to the activation of another card effect. I mean, kinda true, kinda not true, because technically I can activate 0 effects and a chain can still be made, you know? My opponent can just make a chain all by themselves. And it doesn't actually explain priority either, now that I think about it, because technically, you know, when a chain is being built, it can go like, um, your opponent does a thing, you do a thing, your opponent does a thing, you do a thing. And you know, chains are like the most complicated thing probably in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like one of them, and it explains it like this, like, really. Kind of upset about that, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. So chains are created when you respond to uh, a card effect, I guess. And then what? For example, there are many counter trap cards that you can activate and chain onto a card activation or effect in order to negate it. It doesn't mention that you can also uh, it doesn't mention that counter traps can't be responded to except by other counter traps. So really missing out on that. So what was this text blurb saying? Counter traps can activate and chain to negate, but it doesn't explain negating. But okay, I guess. Counter traps can be chained to other cards to negate. Which, I mean, all of that text there, this entire sentence feels kind of worthless to me. It doesn't explain anything. Just useless text, really. A list of the cards that you can chain will be displayed when it's possible for you to chain a card. Then you choose whether or not you want to chain the card. Well, I mean, that's probably the most useful thing out of these 3 text blurbs, but alright. This is essentially saying that, I guess when a card is chainable, it will display and will be optional if you want to chain, I guess. But also some effects are actually mandatory. So, there is no need to actually put this last line. Then you can choose whether or not you want to chain a card. Well, that's not necessarily always true. That's basically how we feel about Yu-Gi-Oh! In a nutshell. Like, you know, you can negate a monster effect, except when you can't. Like with Therion Regulus. You can sure negate cards with Therion Regulus until you can't. Even without considering macro, you know, damage step, negate effect. And then I guess the last things in this tutorial are extra deck summoning things here. So that this gives you 600 gems for each of these. Bam. So, alright. Let's take a look then. If I recall, these are the actual hand-holding tutorials. And let's see if we have it right here. This summoning method allows you to bring out synchro monsters. You must first gather to the field the materials listed on the synchro monster you want to summon. Every synchro monster will need a kind of monster called a tuner to be summoned, but the specific monsters you'll need will depend on each synchro monster. So all this is saying at the moment is that they're like summon conditions on synchro monsters, I suppose. And there's nothing else here, right? And also this part is a lie. Every synchro monster will need a kind of monster called a tuner to be summoned. Yeah, Chaos Angel needs a tuner. Here. Believable. And then I think there's probably something else that definitely kind of breaks this convention in some kind of goofy way. But yeah, let's not worry about it too much. I mean, technically, a non-tuner gets treated as a tuner for Chaos Angel, but yeah, it kind of doesn't need a tuner. So, alright, let's see. Um, Specifically with this one, does it say anything about it being synchro specific? Yes, every synchro here, you must first gather to the field the materials listed on synchro monster you want to summon. Not necessarily true, but okay. But we'll write down what it says. Okay, so you need to put on the field materials listed on synchro monster, I suppose. And then the next thing is synchro summoning requires a tuner. Whatever that means. It hasn't explained a tuner anyways, so alright. So synchro summoning requires a tuner. Sure. And I think that's it. During your main phase, you'll need to send your face-up materials, including the necessary tuners, to the graveyard. Their combined levels must add up to the level of the synchro monster you want to summon from your extra deck. So here, that this blurb is not written super well, so well, it doesn't really say the method you need to send your face-up materials. So, okay, so let's say we're trying to summon Junk Warrior here, and we have Junk Synchron and Speed Warrior. So I will now crash them into my opponent's Baron de Floor. Dude, where's my Junk Warrior? Why didn't it get summoned? I sent the tuner and non-tuner to the graveyard. Bro. You know? It doesn't fully explain that properly, but it says during the main phase. Oh. My bad. I got it. Okay, so activate Dark Cult. Dude, where's my Junk Warrior? Anyway, let's see. During main phase, you will need to send materials, including the necessary tuners, to the graveyard. So, essentially, this says synchro summoning is done by sending the materials during main phase. I suppose we could write it like that. And then level of the synchro monster you want to summon from your extra deck. So their levels must match, I guess. Well, let me read that again, actually. Their combined levels must add up to the level of the synchro monster you want to summon from your extra deck. Oh. That doesn't say it has to add up exactly, or that they can't have like a higher combined level. The wording on this makes it a little bit ambiguous. So you can imply from this that synchro monsters need to have non-tuner and tuner levels add up to it, but it doesn't say add up to it exactly. So with ritual summoning, for example, you would need at least a minimum amount of levels, which is not being very clear with here. So we'll write it with a little bit of ambiguity here, I guess. Okay. Try a synchro summon. So it becomes a little bit more clear, I suppose, here when it wants you to perform the synchro summon that you're not dark holing your monsters, I suppose. Activate double summon. Okay. Double summon both. Yep. And the weird part here is that you already have lethal. So, you know, You don't really need to summon again, but okay. So now it's teaching you that you click here, and then you synchro summon like this. So that this is fair enough, you know? And then that's it, right? Attack for a game. Try attacking. Uh, I mean, honestly, the words are not like super eloquent or super thought out. So, alright. At least this explains what send to the graveyard means. But I feel like it could have been phrased a lot better in a different way. But alright. Continuing on here. Alright, next is XYZ summoning, I believe. This summoning method allows you to bring out XYZ monsters. You must first gather to the field the number of monsters listed in the XYZ monsters description as materials. So you must have correct number of... Okay, let's see. To perform XYZ summon, you must have correct number of materials. And then the levels of each material must match the XYZ's rank. Okay. Let's see. Materials must match XYZ monsters rank. Cool. So that's 2 bullet points right there, I guess. Most XYZ monsters require 2 monsters of the same level, but others may require 3 or more. Some may also require materials of specific types and attributes. Okay, so this is a little bit more helpful than the Synchro one, at least. Wait, most XYZs require 2 monsters of the same level, but others may require 3 or more. It doesn't mention the ones that require 1 material, or the ones with funky summon and I guess, or rank ups. But you know, can't teach you everything about these. But there's more to XYZs than synchros, I guess, to some extent. And it also doesn't mention the fact that you can't use tokens for XYZ summons. Wait, can you attach like a Nibiru token to an XYZ monster? Like, would the token just go away? Like, would be removed, or would you be unable to do this at all? I just genuinely don't even remember. Well, okay. Anyways, focusing back up. XYZ monsters require 2 plus... Well, this blurb is actually just kind of pointless, because they already told you about the amount of materials listed. So that since this rule has been broken so many times, honestly, it's just like, yeah, I don't think this is really something you should put here. So let's just put, I guess, XYZ monsters can require 2 or more materials with specific attributes or types, sure. And then next page. During your main phase, you will need to overlay 2 or more face-up monsters of the same level on your field in the zone you would like to summon your XYZ monster to. Then you can summon an XYZ monster whose conditions have been met from deck or deck. The monsters that have been stacked underneath the XYZ becomes its materials, which you can use to activate its effects. This entire line, this like 2 sentences, adds nothing. Okay. The monsters that have been stacked underneath the XYZ monster becomes its materials. It doesn't really explain materials, but okay. They do in fact become materials, whatever that means. No idea. But okay, it actually uses the terminology materials here as well, right? Yes. Materials. But never explains what XYZ like materials really are. Really, I guess. It just kind of offhandedly mentions them, which I also don't like. But I guess, you know, we can just write down monsters used to make XYZ monsters become its materials, which then what's it say here? Which you can use to activate its effects. Now, saying can is crazy because that implies it's kind of optional, which is true because some XYZs just don't. But okay, which you can use as material. Okay. Throw that on there as well. Try an XYZ summon. Yep. So this tutorial. Try summoning Goblin Bird. This allows you to special summon Gambara Knight. Try an XYZ summon. We'll do this one for fun. And then we can get lethal here, I guess. Cool. Oh, of course, now that I think about it, I've been doing this the whole time where I've been attacking like that and skipping to the battle phase without going into the selection thing. Yeah, I don't think it ever teaches you about that. Hmm. Now that I'm looking at it, where's fusion summoning? Ah. Well, okay, I guess. We're going to have a field day with this one. Alright, let's see. This summoning method allows you to special summon multiple monsters all at once. Doesn't fully explain how that works, but okay. Pendulum, well, honestly, I don't think it should put this as the first line, because it hasn't explained anything yet. Why wouldn't it say, like, explain pendulum scales and stuff, and then explain that you can pendulum summon monsters, and then say, you can pendulum summon multiple cards this way, or something like that. Like, the order is just a little bit off here. Alright, pendulum monsters are marked with special numbers called the pendulum scale, which is important for pendulum summoning. How are they important? Okay, they also have pendulum effects that can be used when they're being treated as spell cards. But when are they being treated as spell cards? Okay, so far, we have pendulum monsters have scales, but it doesn't explain what that means exactly, or what scales are, or anything. Okay, and then the next thing is they have pendulum effects that can be used when they are spell cards, I guess. When are they spell cards? Doesn't explain that, but okay. Pendulum monsters, when they are treated as spell cards, can use their pendulum effects, I guess. Is that how I worded it? I guess. Try pendulum summoning for yourself during your main phase. Activate 2 pendulum monsters from your hand by placing one in the leftmost spell and trap zone and then the other in the rightmost zone. So it's telling you to place them on the leftmost and the rightmost, but it doesn't say that's the only place you can place them or anything like that. It doesn't explain that either. So there's nothing to really write here. And it doesn't explain that you can only have technically 2 pendulum scales. It doesn't explain any of this, right? So it's not very clear, and you could misinterpret this, which is a big problem, I think, with this tutorial, where you could misinterpret the things here because the wording is not as good as it should be, in my opinion. Alright. Then you can special summon as many monsters as you want from your hand as long as their levels fall between the numbers noted on the pendulum scales, not inclusive. Not inclusive, I guess, is the part that means that you can't summon level 1s with a scale 1, but you wouldn't really understand this if you don't know what not inclusive means. Like, what does inclusive mean? But I mean, let's just assume that you do understand this, but I just don't really like the wording on this in particular. Special summon as many monsters. So the implication here is, I guess we can put this down as you can pendulum summon as many monsters as you want from hand between 2 pendulum scales. And there's a bunch of ambiguity you could throw in here. And of course, ambiguity is not good when you're like a completely new player, I would imagine. Alright, pendulum summons differ from other special summoning methods like synchro summons in the way that you can only perform them once per turn. So the wording for this is so annoying. Like, why are you even mentioning synchro summoning? What relevance does synchro summoning have with pendulum summoning? I think that's kind of just eh. Like, why would you make this comparison? It's dumb, honestly. Yeah, but all right. You can only pendulum summon once per turn. Sure, whatever. That's kind of true. Unless you use one of those effects that allow you to pendulum summon again. But that's like with the same kind of deal as double normal summon. Speaking of which, like with the synchro one, that tutorial was so bad it made synchro summoning look like garbage. Uh, it's a 3-card combo for me to summon this like useless beater. I will need to open specifically double normal summon and then 2 specific monsters that are the exact materials I need to make this guy. Yeah, okay. Try pendulum summon. Yep. So the only reason you'll know that you can only set 2 pendulum scales is because of the UI. Activate a pendulum summon. Wait, what? Wait. Activate a pendulum summon as a spell card. That's what? So we'll make a note here. Okay. Well, yeah. Horrible typo. Activate a pendulum summon as a spell card. Yeah, okay. Activate a pendulum summon as a spell card. How long has this been in the game? And no one has fixed this? Alright, let me activate a pendulum summon. Alright, pendulum summons, right? You can summon as many guys as you want from hand. It's not working, bro. Why is it not working? Ay. Okay, anyways. So if we click this, click pendulum scale, it'll be more apparent now that, you know, you can scale these two and it doesn't really help you. Also try activating a pendulum monster as a spell card. What? Okay, so then it says try activating a pendulum monster as a spell card, but it just wants you to scale and not use end effects. What? Okay, I guess. Sure. And I mean, we can throw in like, oh wait, what's it saying here? Let's see. 2 pendulum monsters on the left and right ends of trap and spell card zones. Try a pendulum summon. Okay. We'll say here that UI makes it apparent that you can only have 2 pen scales at a time. But it's not really mentioned, I guess. But not specifically mentioned by game, or by tutorial, I suppose. Sure. And then, alright. Perform a pendulum summon. Pendulum summon 2. Now that I think about it, it doesn't like show you extra deck pendulum summoning at all, so whenever I saw pendulum summon, I was very confused. Please attack with a monster. And we'll just leave this as a note here as well. Um, does not uh, teach you about what you might call it. Does not teach you about uh and summon um extra deck, and then it also does not mention that uh, and scale monsters are specifically treated as continuous monsters, I guess, which it doesn't. And then that's the last thing. So that this doesn't teach you enough about Pendulum, honestly. Then we have Link Summoning, and then we'll be done with this tutorial. And yeah, but yeah, well, yeah, that I've been recording for a while. So yeah, this video is going to be a long one. All right. The summoning method allows you to bring out link monsters. To summon a link monster, you will need the number of materials equal to the amount of link arrows it has, which is also equal to its link rating. Honestly, after reading this, my mind has like completely blanked. Like all these words, they're just not they're just not good, we'll put it that way. And they will also gain a range of effects depending on what zones the link arrows point to or what cards are in those zones. Honestly, this isn't even true anymore because I don't remember. Like, the last time I've seen like a card where this was actually relevant for the link card. Like, yeah, just straight up. But okay, let's break it down. To summon a link monster, you will need the number of materials equal to the amount of link arrows it has, which is also equal to its link rating. So we have to break this down. If you just read this one time, it'll be kind of jarring, honestly. But link arrow is equal to link rating. So that's fine, I guess. And then the other thing was that you will need materials equal to the link, the the what? Equal to the amount of link arrows. So need materials equal to link arrows. Sure. Okay. During your main phase, send the face-up monsters on your field that you want to use as link materials to your graveyard. Then you can summon a link monster. Link monsters. That's not right. Because you shouldn't be summoning more than one link monster with a link summon at a time. So that's immediately a typo right there. That's a mistake. Okay. And you can send them from your then you can summon a link monster whose conditions have been met from your extra deck into the extra monster zone. Uh, no, this is wrong. The order of this is entirely opposite in the UI, so it's kind of dumb and nonsensical. So you would choose the thing you're summoning and the available thing, and then you would choose the material for it. So this is all kind of just dumb. Honestly, it shouldn't be written like this at all. And I mean, in what context would this be true? Just, yeah, I don't know. So, all right. Essentially, though, if we were to break this down, you send, I guess, link materials to make link monster. I guess send link material. And also, wait, it says link material. Ah, send the face of monsters you want to use as link materials. Yeah. So, send, I guess, monsters slash link material to graveyard to summon link monster, I guess. Okay. Next. Normally, one monster will count as one link material, but for link monsters, their link rating will denote how many materials they can be counted as. So it doesn't explain it that good here, but you know, link monsters, you can use this as either one or a two for a link summon. I mean, it it kind of implies this, but once again, you know, ambiguity. Okay, so did I ever mention that? All right, so I guess we can put this down as non-link monsters count as one material for link summon, and then link monsters can count as the link rating for link summon. But this doesn't also make it implicitly clear for some things. Like, let's say there is a link 3 I want to summon. I cannot use two link 3s to make that link 3 because they don't add up to the exact amount of material. So it completely fails to mention that and a few other things regarding link summoning, which is kind of bad, like how you can only summon your link monsters to specific areas. It doesn't mention that either, which is just even more confusing for down the line, I guess. Let's see if it mentions it here. Okay, special summon Link Slayer. No. Normal summon guy or what? Nope. Special summon backup secretary. Tour monsters are on your field. Normal Link summon. I mean, the UI here, it doesn't really make sense. Okay, try summoning Link in for a flyer. I'd be confused at this point why I can't do this, but okay. Link summon a Link 3. At this point, I would be very confused why I can only summon to this zone here. And it doesn't explain extra monster zone either. And then we just attack. This tutorial is probably the worst one, actually. Wait, actually, the pendulum one exists? Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't know how to rank this. And there's no fusion tutorial, which I guess we'll just add here fusion tutorial. Where? Okay. So, all right, let's go through the list of what the tutorial teaches you. Because I have this all written down, and it's kind of lengthy, but also it's not like particularly that useful. So you can only summon once per turn. Whatever that means. You can tribute summon, and then it mentions something about battle position, like maybe battle positions exist. Summon monsters attack bigger, you get damage, I think. Maybe I just wrote this part poorly. Attack bigger, extra damage. Yeah, I think that one might be on me, unless it's like really bad, but whatever. Monsters can destroy lower attack monsters by battle. You can activate spells. Or you can activate spell, yeah. Spells can be activated, apparently. Traps need to be set for one turn to activate. Well, it doesn't mention quick plays at all here, now that I think about it. So you would never know that you can't just set a quick play spell to bait out like cards and then just activate it. Oh, okay, thanks. Battle position uses attack or defense, like your attack or defense values, depending on like what position you're in. Yeah, I guess it does mention that at some point. Cool. You can special summon and you can choose zone position and card position unless stated otherwise. Yeah, that was just painful. All right, that's whatever. You can drop your opponent's life points to 0 to win the duel. That doesn't really mention alt win cons, but you know, you sure can. Monsters can have effects, and they work similarly to spells and traps. So, I think it must mention this at some point, but like, at what point does it explain spells and traps for you to even understand how spells and traps work? And then continuous effects, they exist, and they explain nothing about them. But simply, at some point, they let you know they exist. Cool. Decks are 40 to 60 cards, which is mentioned in, I think, like a blurb somewhere here. If you read this, cool. And then draw cards exist, and you should apparently try to have cards in hand. Specifically, keep your hand topped up, apparently. But then it just gives you, like, I think it gives you an example of a card that goes completely even and doesn't build any advantage. It's kind of like, really now. Chains are created when you respond to a card effect. I guess true. Counter traps can be chained to other cards to negate. Also true, just doesn't explain anything about counter traps. This is the first mention of counter traps, and I don't think you even get to see a counter trap anywhere because there are no counter traps in your deck or any of the decks here. So, cool. When a card is chainable, it will display and will be optional if you want to chain, except when it's not, I guess. You need to put on the field materials listed on Synchro Monster. Well, you know, the funny thing is the only monster type I think that actually genuinely needs the, well, as far as I'm aware, it's probably just XYZs that require the, well, like, absolutely, I think it's pretty mandatory to have the monster on the field to perform a XYZ summon. I don't think there is anything else. And also, you know, for sure we require 2 or more materials with specific attributes or types, right? Zodiac, Zeus, and okay, synchro summoning is done by sending the materials during the main phase. It doesn't mention specifically how that works. And honestly, I don't like the phrasing for this. It could have been done better, I feel. But alright. Synchro monsters need to have non-tuner and tuner levels add up to it. This part's a little bit too ambiguous. It doesn't imply that it has to add up exactly. Like with ritual summons, you can actually tribute the exact correct amount or go over, which it's not clear about with synchro summoning here. So yeah, you kind of have to figure that out and be confused about it for a while if you're a new player, I suppose. To perform an XYZ summon, you must have the correct number of materials, and materials must match the XYZ monster's rank. So let's say I have, I don't know, let's say a level 4 warrior token and a warrior monster that's level 4. Yo, is that not the correct materials? 2 level 4 warrior monsters is why I need to maybe XYZ summon the specific XYZ monster. Why can't I make it? Thanks for the detailed explanation, I suppose. But alright. Materials must match XYZ monsters rank. Does it really? Does it really now? I will XYZ summon Typhon. I will XYZ summon Zeus. I will now XYZ summon a Pearly, rank 2, with my level 1 Pearly. Interesting. To be fair, at least Pearlies didn't exist at around this time, right? But I'll give you a hint right now. There are actually several cards that kind of break this convention. Standard Magician, Zeus, Gaia Thunder Charger, Ravenous Tarantula, Seven Sins. I believe all of those can just be XYZ summoned on top of another XYZ monster. So, yeah. That's not entirely true now, as XYZ monsters can require 2 or more materials with specific attributes or types. It implies that it's mostly 2 or 3 material. That's what you can take from this, but I wrote it down as a little bit more ambiguous than that. Monsters used to make XYZ monsters become its materials, which you can use as a wait material. Did I write this wrong? I guess we can go here real quick and see what they actually put down for that. All right, let's see. Which you can use to activate its effects. Okay. Which you can use. I can rewrite this. Which you can use to activate effects. I mean, you can if the XYZ monster specifically says it has to detach. Speaking of which, it doesn't talk about detaching materials and how all that stuff works. Fissure. XYZ materials and what XYZ materials are treated as. Apparently, XYZ materials are not treated as spells or traps. They are not treated as monsters either. They're treated as XYZ materials. So if we specifically had a card like Messiah, which banishes any spells or traps sent to the graveyard, and Fissure, which any makes it so any monsters specifically would be banished if sent to the materials. No matter what XYZ material you have, despite there only technically being these 3 card types, XYZ materials count as essentially a 4th type, meaning that under these conditions, none of your XYZ materials that are detached will ever be banished. And that's just how the game works, I guess. And I guess continuing on, pendulum monsters have scales. They sure do. Doesn't really mention that you need a low or high scale to do a pendulum summon. But I mean, I guess it's a little bit implied. Pendulum monsters, when they're treated as spell cards, can use their pendulum effects. But whatever that pendulum effect might be, I suppose. You can pendulum summon as many monsters as you want from hand between 2 pendulum scales. You can only pendulum summon once per turn. And then there were some typos, and it mentions the specific typos here. I have them written down. And then the UI kind of lets you know that you can only have 2 pendulum scales at a time. It's not specifically mentioned by the tutorial. Link arrows are equal to the link rating, so the link rating essentially means the amount of link arrows you have, basically, I guess. You need materials equal to the link arrows to perform a link summon. I guess I can make this a little bit better. To perform summon. And then you send monsters or link material to graveyard to summon link monsters or whatever. Yep. Saying link material out of the blue is kind of weird. It makes me feel a little bit awkward, but alright. Non-link monsters count as 1 material for a link summon. Should have mentioned this before. I think that it would be better to mention this first, maybe. Because you use the terminology like material. It's weird. Link monsters can count as their link rating for link summon. But once again, you know, it doesn't explain that you need to be doing exactsies, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of missing. And then there's no fusion tutorial. All right, let's leave this and real quick, just check if there even is a link with or a fusion tutorial. So I think we go here to training and challenges, and then dual training, dual strategy 2. I guess we won't look through the entirety of this, but alright. Damage step, other stuff. Is that pendulum summoning again? Link monsters. This was released much later, now that I think about it, but you know, okay. Yeah. Nothing here. Yeah, that's it, right? Let's still restart. summon set. Now that I think about it, there's technically a few more tutorials here then, huh? But yeah, no fusion summoning. I guess fusion summoning isn't in the game. Sorry, guys. So yeah, all right. Sorry to all the fusion enjoyers out there. I guess they must have forgot to put in fusion summoning for Master Duel. Damn, what an oversight. I hope that gets added in the next patch. But yeah, I guess that's about everything. I guess I'll leave all my notes I've taken in the description below if you want to take a look at those. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.